This passage is from Yearly Broken Chords. Her place was run down and small. It was late spring in Fresno, very hot and dry, and a window was open to catch a breeze. I liked her house because it smelled similar to mine, sweet and starchy like rice. Over in the far corner, almost hidden underneath a pile of clothes, was a piano. It caught my attention like a beacon. A piano doesn't typically grace a Hmong household. This one was an old upright. Kalia and I were friends, but this was the first time I had been inside her house. I didn't recall her saying she played music. I wandered to it without trying to seem like I was heading directly there, but Kalia saw. She was a small girl with skin the color of wet sand on the beach. Her shiny black hair was pulled back into its usual ponytail. She smiled as I stopped in front of the piano. "Do you play, Katie?" she asked, getting up and sweeping away the clothes. She put them on the couch and then she lifted the lid to the keyboard. The white and black keys winged at me. I sat down and plinked out a few notes. "It's in tune," I said. Why had it been carelessly buried under all those clothes? She gestured for me to begin, so I started Mozart's 12 variations on Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. It was one of my favorites, deceptively simple yet full of energy and whim. My fingers were bouncing around a rush of 16th notes when a voice startled me. "Aaron, shut up," a booming male voice yelled in Hmong. The music faltered and then I stopped. Kalia appeared calm, but her black eyes were annoyed. "It's not Aaron, she's my friend," she called back in English. "Oh, sorry, my bad." A body attached itself to the voice. A young man appeared in the doorway. He glanced at us carelessly and went away. "That was my older brother. Ignore him, he's an idiot." Kalia tried to be light-hearted, and I smiled for her sake. "He doesn't like piano?" I asked. She shrugged. "He'll be leaving soon. He hardly seems to live here anymore. Why don't you finish the song?" I finished the song, although the frolicking notes seemed false now. "Do you play?" Kalia shook her head. I thought, then asked, "Who is Aaron?" "He is Aaron." Kalia motioned with her head, and I realized that there was another person at the doorway. He must have been standing there as I was playing, for his face had an intent, pleased expression. His skinny frame was drowning in baggy clothes, and there was a gold stud in his left ear. Now that we were paying attention to him, he flashed us a small smile. His black eyes seemed vaguely familiar. "How was detention?" Kalia asked him dryly. "Good," he answered. "Maybe if you do your homework, you'd avoid it," Kalia suggested. "Maybe," said Aaron. "Perhaps if you showed up in class once in a while, that would help too." "Perhaps," Aaron said, his voice too pleasant. It sounded like an old argument. Kalia looked angry and more tired than ever. I wasn't sure what to do. My fingers hit a couple of keys accidentally. The sound of the piano shifted their attention to me. Aaron stepped into the room and approached me. "That's my piano," he said. I got off the bench. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. It's just that it hasn't been played on for a long time," he said, trailing a finger along the white keys. "It's weird coming here and hearing it again." "Well, then why don't you play something?" I said. The question just popped out of me and he hesitated. I sneaked a glance at Kalia. She was watching Aaron closely. There were undercurrents that I wasn't sure how to read. I was wondering if I had somehow made a mistake when he sat down abruptly on the bench and let his fingers hover over the keys. Then he pressed them down. He played Chopin, the etude nicknamed Ocean. His fingers flew as the music swept over the room. He was good, not perfect, but he had good technique and he knew the music. I could see it in his eyes, the way they blazed a vivid crystal black. When Aaron stopped, there was a silence. I struggled to say anything. Kalia beat me to words. "Aaron, this is my friend Katie Yang," she introduced. "Katie, this is my little brother, Aaron." I said hello to him. He nodded and said, "What's up?" Then Kalia told him to go away and leave us alone. We were working on a project, but her tone was less angry and had more humor. When he left, I looked at the piano. I could still hear the notes rolling in my mind. Based on the passage, Katie's interactions at Kalia's house suggest that Katie has stumbled upon a mystery that concerns Kalia and the piano, learned a lot about Kalia and the dynamics of Kalia's household, found herself at odds with Kalia because they lack common interests, grown increasingly uncomfortable, and she learns more about Kalia's brothers. So this is B, because we know that she discovers the piano, Katie, and then that piano leads her to kind of, understand what the household is all about. She meets the elder brother, she meets the younger brother whose piano it belongs to. So she learns a lot about the household and the people in it. So B is a good answer. There's no mystery that concerns Kalia and the piano. It's just a piano that's not been used for a long time, so it's not A. She is not at odds with Kalia because they lack common interests. It's just that Katie has an interest in music that Kalia doesn't seem to share, but that doesn't mean that they don't have other common interests. And she's definitely not growing uncomfortable when she learns about Kalia's brothers. In fact, the sort of connection that she develops with Aaron indicates the opposite. So it's B. In the passage, Katie primarily presents herself as someone who is shy because she is at a loss for words when Kalia's brothers speak to her, perceptive because she is aware of the tension among Kalia and her siblings, critical because she is quick to make judgments based on the appearance of Kalia's home, troublesome because she disturbs Kalia's brothers when she plays the piano. So this is again B, because at various points we learn that she's able to kind of understand what's going on, the dynamics of the household. For example, so when the elder brother says, Aaron, shut up, Kalia appeared calm, but her black eyes were annoyed, right? So she understands, that the elder brother does not realize that it's Kalia's friend who was playing the piano. And even here, right, when Aaron and Kalia have this conversation about detention, and it sounded like an old argument. Kalia looked angry and tired, but Aaron was just playing along, right? So there is definitely a sense of Katie being perceptive. There is only one instance where she doesn't know what to say. I struggled to say something when Aaron stopped playing, right? But otherwise, she's not at a loss for words. So, this idea that Kalia's brothers speak to her and she's at a loss for words is not right. She doesn't make judgments based on the appearance of Kalia's home. She is only interested in why the piano has not been played and why it seems to have been left alone. So, it's not C. And she's definitely not troublesome. She seems to have disturbed the elder brother, but Aaron is really impressed with the fact that somebody has decided to play his piano. So it's B. In line 7, the narrator's description of the piano as being like a beacon most likely serves to. So line 7 is here. It caught my attention like a beacon, right? So that would mean that she's drawn to it, right? She wants to go and see what it's all about. So that means it serves to contrast the new piano with the old home, suggest how dark it is in Kalia's home, emphasize how drawn Katie is to the piano, support the idea that Katie likes Kalia's home, right? So it's C, because she's drawn to the piano. She wants to go and see it because she herself is interested in music. I don't think that's meant to indicate the contrast of the piano, right? And anyway, it's not a new piano. We know that it was an old upright. So there's no contrast between the new and the old. It's not to do with darkness. The beacon here is meant to indicate that Katie is drawn to it. And it has nothing to do with Katie's liking Kalia's home, right? The piano is something that stands on its own and draws Katie's attention. The main effect of the words winged, blinked, and bouncing is to. So if you go back and read these words, winged, blinked, and bouncing, that is The white and black keys winked at me. I sat down and blinked out a few notes, and my fingers were bouncing around a rush of 16th notes. Okay, so what do those words mean? Establish a contrast between Katie's musical abilities and Aaron's. Create a playful tone that highlights Katie's enjoyment of the piano. Imply that the old upright piano doesn't sound very good. Illustrate the effect Katie's playing has on Kalia. So this is B, because it's kind of personifying the piano, when Katie says that the keys winged at me, right? And also that the keys bounced as she played. So this is a playful way of kind of establishing the connection Katie feels with the piano and the fact that she is enjoying it. Aaron has not even been introduced yet, so these words cannot bring about a contrast between Katie and Aaron. These words don't indicate that the piano doesn't sound very good. In fact, it does sound good. We learn later in the passage that it plays perfectly well. So it's not C. And these words do not have to do with Katie's effect on Kalia. These are meant to establish how Katie responds to the piano. So B. Which choice best characterizes Kalia's attitude about Katie playing the household's piano? Inviting, overjoyed, uncomfortable, and annoyed. So this, I think, would be inviting. How does she react to it? So she says, "Do you play, Katie?" She asked, getting up and sweeping away the clothes. She put them on the couch and then she lifted the lid to the keyboard, right? So she wanted Katie to kind of come and play. So she invited her. So yeah, so I would say inviting would be a good answer. Overjoyed is extreme, right? There is no indication in the passage that Kalia is overjoyed. Aaron, perhaps, because it was Aaron's piano, and he probably would have felt good that somebody had decided to play it after a long time. Uh, Kalia is not uncomfortable. There's no reason to be uncomfortable, and she's not annoyed, right? So this is her friend, and she's happy that she wants to play the piano. Which choice provides the best evidence for the answer to the previous question? So let's see if the lines that we marked are here: 5 to 6, 7 to 8, over piano, a piano household. Over piano and a piano household. Okay. And then we have 17 to 19. Do you keyboard? I sat and clothes. 17 to 19. Yeah, do you keyboard and I sat and clothes. So it is C, right? We mark these lines as indicating that Kalia invites Katie to play the piano. Now, option A, over in the far corner, almost hidden underneath a pile of clothes, was a piano. So this is how Katie discovers the piano. So it has nothing to do with Kalia's reaction. And a piano doesn't typically grace a monk household. So again, this does not have to do with Kalia's reaction. And then option D, I sat down and plinked out a few notes. It's in tune, I said. Why had it been carelessly buried under all those clothes? So this indicates how Katie responds to it and does not bring up Kalia's reaction. So C. Okay. According to the passage, the Mozart composition Katie chooses to play is less cheerful than Chopin's Ocean, a dignified piece of music, more intricate than it seems, a piece often favored by children. So if you go back and read the part where that is described, I started Mozart's 12 variations on Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. It was one of my favorites, deceptively simple, yet full of energy and vim. So deceptively simple would mean that it looks simple, but it's actually not that simple. It's more complex than it looks. So that would be the best evidence for option C. It is more intricate than it seems. I don't think there is a comparison between Mozart's composition and Chopin's, so A is not correct. Dignified piece of music, there's no evidence for that, right? It is something which is energetic. It is something that Katie likes. So B is not supported. And a piece often favored by children, we don't know that. We know that Katie likes it, but whether it's favored by children in general, there's no evidence. So C. Based on the passage, when Aaron hears Katie playing the piano, he seems to feel annoyed that someone else is playing his piano, be intrigued and gratified to hear someone playing the piano, feel joyful and excited by the music that Katie is playing, be envious that Katie is such an accomplished pianist. So this is B, right? Because we know that Aaron is happy, he is grateful, right? So he says, don't be. It's just that it hasn't been played on for a long time. So he says, don't be sorry. He trailed a finger along the white keys. It's weird coming here and hearing it again, right? And even the way that, he's kind of standing at the door, his face had an intent pleased expression, right? So he's definitely happy. He's not angry that someone has decided to use the piano. So yeah, so it's not annoyance. So it's not A. I don't think that there is any specific mention of how he responds to the music that Katie is playing, right? He's just happy that the piano is being used, right? He's happy to have the piano being played again. So it's not C. And there's no evidence for the fact that he's envious. So B. Which choice provides the best evidence for the idea that Aaron's playing made a strong impression on Katie? Okay. 84, 86, he played good and I could black. 84, he played good and I could black. 97, 98, but humor when mind. But humor when and mind. Okay. So he played Chopin, the etude nicknamed Ocean. His fingers flew as the music swept over the room. He was good. Option B, I could see it in his eyes, the way they blazed a vivid crystal black. But her tone was less angry and had more humor. When he left, I looked at the piano. I could still hear the notes rolling in my mind. Okay, so we are looking at evidence for Aaron's playing making a strong impression on Katie. So I'm leaning towards D because in D it says when he left, I could still hear the notes rolling in my mind, which is to say that the way Aaron played left a strong impression. So D seems like a good answer. Um, Option A talks about the fact that he's good, right? He played this tune and he did well. And option B talks about how involved he was when he was playing, right? So they don't necessarily convey this impression that the music left on Katie. And option C talks about Kalia. So that cannot be the right answer. So it's D. Okay, let's grade this. Question 1. Double B, C, B, A, B, B, C, B, A, and 6, C, C, B, D. C, C, B, D. Okay, great. So we got all correct.